Well, hello and welcome to the Alpha Anywhere demo and Q&A webcast. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Products and Services, coming to you live from just outside Boston, Massachusetts at Alpha headquarters. Joining us today is Dion McCormick, no relation, who's joining us from Austin, Texas. Soon to be joining us will be Sarah Mitchell from Providence, Rhode Island, and we have a special guest today all the way from the port of Spain, Trinidad. His name is Gregory Fernandez, and he's built an incredibly sophisticated application in Alpha Anywhere, an ERP system, and we're going to do a demo of that. So we're also here to take questions, and if you do have questions, you can go ahead and type those questions into the questions box of the GoToWebinar control panel. And we'll begin our webinar today with Gregory. Let me take you off mute here, Gregory. And hello, Gregory, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent.
Good day, everyone.
Let me go ahead and make you the presenter.
Sure.
And if you can maybe just show that HRplus website and tell us a little bit about what you've built, how long you've been doing it, and anything else that we'll find interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so HRplus is a software company, just like Alpha, I suppose. But we have built this application. It actually has about 20 modules. It's a human resource, time and attendance, and payroll system, all integrated. And it runs on Alpha for IIS, right? We started using Alpha many years ago, probably 7 to 10 years ago. Previously, we were using a couple other environments. We were using Omnis Studio. We started with that. And then we went to Cold Fusion and so on. But we finally settled. I tracked Alpha from Alpha 3. So that was many, many years ago. It was DOS-based at the time. And I monitored it for some years until I saw that it was getting to where I needed it to be. And we made a decision to move to the Alpha platform. So over the years, we have worked with Alpha to get this application up and running. We do our own hosting. We have a cloud environment, that a private cloud at a hosting company. And we did our own configurations of IIS and so on to be able to run HRplus on the Alpha cloud, so to speak, but on a private cloud. So the application, it can scale. We have the private cloud load balanced so that we can scale, because we have clients, customers who have hundreds, thousands of employees, and they would log on to the application via the interface here or via their mobile phones. So we're also supporting Android and iOS. Again, we use Alpha there. So the environment is more or less in Alpha, but we have added on some third-party stuff onto it to allow us to do a couple things that we wanted to extend the application to. So I'm going to log in so that you can see what it looks like. So we're logging in here to HRplus. I'm going to also make the screen. So I'm going to go F11. All right, so you're seeing my screen, right, everyone?
Yeah, it's coming through. Thanks. Yep.
Right. So, okay. So when you log on to HRplus, this is the interface. So here at the side we have all the different modules which comprise HRplus. So and on the interface here, we use this for birthdays, anniversaries, clients, and so on. And then at the top here, we actually have. Let me just move the control. Yeah. So at the top here, We have notifications, we have the logout button, password, and so on. So what we have done is in the HRplus environment, because it's a very large application, we use some other tools to have a knowledge base and manuals and so on that you can access directly from the application. So here what we have done is this is the intranet part of it. So employees, you come here and you can get access to the employee directory, right? So and then we have different services here: message inbox, company notification, suggestion box. And then we have profile. So when I click here, so this is Gregory Fernandez here for all of you who want to know what I look like, right?
Excellent.
Right, and so these are some details. And here we have options that the employees can change and so on through the employee self-service. They can also access their goals, their reviews. So we have goals, reviews, training, grievances, and so on, then benefits. So we use calendars inside of here. Inside of here, they can actually see their timesheets. They can submit deductions. They can view their pay slips. So full self-service functionality. We got across here, we have the personal module, right? So the dashboards, we are now going to be using Alpha, a combination of Alpha and a white label dashboard environment that will be providing the dashboards, because we do have dashboards, but the dashboards right now we use a white label environment because it allows us to allow the end users to build their own dashboards, something that they're interested in.
May I ask what tool you're using for the dashboards that you're incorporating?
Exago BI.
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
Exago BI.
Exago BI. Okay, thanks.
Right. So they allowed us to white label. Right. So so within here we see reports BI. So when you click here, it will take you out to the BI environment. Right. So this is what is coming up here. So within here we have the dashboards and so on. So if I click here, I can then run this, and I would have. So this is actually not just a BI, but a full report writer, the Exago environment, and through that the clients can, in addition to the hundreds of reports we have built into HRplus, they can easily come in and do their own stuff as well. So this is bringing up some elements on the dashboard there. All right. So these are different reports that I've aggregated into this dashboard. All right. So when I go back here, some of the key things we did with the Alpha environment is we use this approach to mimic like a multiple interface, so that when the users are using the data here, they don't have to, right? So what has happened is that you can have multiple windows open at the same time. In a lot of the web apps, when you move from one place to the next, you have to navigate through a set of breadcrumbs and so on. I found that to be inefficient. So we took a different approach. So what we have is that you can open windows, or we can be in other parts of the application at the same time. So I can be working. Just 1 second, let me just check this. If it's right, I have to call you back. I want to call. Okay. Yeah. So we have a situation where you can be working in another app, another module in the application at the same time. So here we are in the recruitment module, and I can then just switch back to personnel, still have all my windows open where I was, and so on. So I find this to be more efficient than closing down and going in and close. So it's you can save a lot of time, and it's easier to navigate, right? So we have used some of Alpha's features here. So this one we use this to so we use these features. We also use, well, of course, the reporting. We have a lot of reports built in Alpha within the environment, right? Now so it's a big application with 20 modules, over 3,000 tables, right? This is an audit. We have auditing throughout. So it's a huge environment. It normally takes, depending on the size of the organization and the modules they purchase, it can take up to 6 months to implement, right? It could even be more than that because we also have multi-territory capabilities. We have done multi-currency in it and so on as well, multi-language capability. And as a result, depending, sometimes we may have a client whose operations span more than one country. Because where I am here is in the Caribbean, and the islands are not that large. So you have organizations that operate across many of the islands. So therefore, even though they are small, they have their own laws and all of that. So many times, each implementation may be a bit different. So a project can last quite some time, right? So we have the recruitment module, we have a talent management module. So in here we have goals. So in some of these, again, we use some third-party stuff. So here we have a goal chart, and the goal chart. So if I select the company here, we get to add in this type of graphical swim lanes and so on. So these don't come with alpha, so we integrated stuff as well into the alpha environment to give us more of what we wanted, right? So we have enhanced it in those ways. The pivots, for example, again, we use a third-party pivot tool to integrate. And currently, we developing a complete API for this application. And right now, we are testing an integration with our payroll and SAP success factors. So, so as you can see, there are many modules. So this is appraisals, 360 multi-rater, training, right? So we have all these modules. We have integration with third parties. So this is to synchronize with Talent LMS, which is a product out on the web. And we are going to use the API to connect to many third-party applications so that we could extend the functionality even beyond the volume we have, because there are specialist apps in this field that does things like psychometric testing and other things like that. And those apps, well, everybody now has APIs, so we can talk to them and have employees get to these applications to do certain tests and so on, and then the results are brought back into HRplus. So we have the employee relations. So we have industrial relations here, health and safety. Then we have company assets, and in here we have setting up your assets. So you have your asset items here. So this tracks assets and which employees have those assets for use. We also have in here the benefits, and in the benefits we do leave management. So this handles leave and punctuality, and we also have benefits, right? So pension plans, group life plans, things like that. We have health plans, medical, which tracks emergency providers, EAP, employee assistance programs, and so on, drug testing, all right, compensation, education support. We also have, well, the payroll. So this is what this is our payroll here, HRplus payroll. It's a very powerful payroll. We pay thousands of employees through the payroll system, and it caters to 22 countries. So we have tax requirements for 22 countries in here. We don't have one for the US. What we plan to do is to use, we are planning to try to get HRplus into the US. But what we're going to be doing is building an API to ADP and a few of the other payrolls which already are in the market, so that HRplus would more address the HR side of things and the time and attendance side of things. Right. So so here we have, so this is the payroll here. We have powerful functionality in here, of cycles. It's very scalable. It can handle thousands of employees. The payroll is very fast. We wrote it using set notation rather than writing the code differently. So what it does, it actually more complicated to write it this way, but then it can process large numbers all at once. Then we use we have time and attendance. So we built time and attendance, and we also built a geofencing application in Alpha as well, right? So so in here you can come and do your fence setup, right, using mapping software and so on. Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about the geofencing? Is it to sort of ensure that employees are where they're supposed to be during that time, or okay,
Correct.
yeah, yeah.
Right, because we have some clients who have employees out in the field. They're supposed to be at particular locations at X time. Yeah, so this is what this is for, right?
Great.
So, and our system can handle things like 24-hour shifts. So it's high end. It can handle very, very complicated situations, right? So this is the time and attendance. So we have schedules. We do scheduling, rounding rules for shifts, payment rules, and and then the HRplus time, and then we have here self-service, right? So we have self-service for managers, for timekeepers, for employees. So this was the employee self-service here where I was at the start, right? So you can see here I am in all these modules at once. So I can come here and open manager's perspective. The manager can see a personal org chart. So we have full org chart and stuff into it as well, right? Some of these are third-party tools, of course. So we have quite a bit of extensibility built into it. Again, I can easily move between modules without having to do any big set of navigation. So this is something I hope Alpha keeps.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
And inside of here, we have our system configurations. So we have where you can do lots of system configurations. We also built our own workflow engine. So in HRplus, all the leave approvals and so on are done via workflows, approving salaries, approving, and they're all user definable through the setup in here. And it's very sophisticated. It can handle multi-company environments, so where you may want to not necessarily have HR officers in smaller operations, but the workflows can start in those companies and come across to the bigger company for approvals and then go back to those employees in the smaller companies. We have developed technology for all those types of things. And you can, and most processes are driven by workflow in HRplus, so you can get pretty paperless using the HRplus environment. We also do document storage within here as well. Um, so this is where you do some of that. This is the language dictionary and other things like that. You set up those things in here. And then we have the security section. So and here we track login activities of the users. So right, so it would show me here because I just logged in, right? And then we have how you set up your general users. Um, so so the plan is we have a couple more things we want to add um, to we're going to end up with about 22, 23 modules, and we have about 20 of them right now, and then the rest of it is going to be API calls for integration with other. So we're going to have what we call a HRplus marketplace, so to speak. So that's what, and then we have um, so the idea is to improve the interface as we go along. We have spent years building this, so it's not an easy thing to say, well, okay, we're going to just rebuild from the core. But
Yep.
that's not going to happen because we have spent a ton of time. The idea is to work with Alpha to continue to improve the product, improve the interface. We're going to bring a UI developer to assist us with making it a bit more friendly and so on, and go from there. But we are enjoying some success with it. It's been sold throughout the Caribbean. We have a customer in Colombia as well, and a couple customers in the Dominican Republic. So we have some Spanish speaking and English speaking customers. And right now, through an effort with Alpha, where Alpha appointed us to, they're one of their reps in Africa, one of their. So we are working with that company now to try to get HRplus into Africa as well, right? So our plan is that beginning of next year sometime we're going to be also opening a company in the US because the application has many modules. So what we're going to do is take out certain modules like the time and attendance, right, and a couple others, and sell those as a package individually, etc. From the US side of things. The integration, as it is now, is heavily integrated. So the system is aware and is very efficient because of that. So when you do not show up for work, the time and attendance would flag you as absent, as AWOL. If you had applied for leave before through the self-service and so on, the time and attendance would be aware. And if you didn't come out but you had they approved for any type of leave, it can automatically flag that. And if it is you have exceeded your leave entitlement, it can automatically send that data to the payroll for deductions. And so there's heavy automation that we try to push. So I am heavily involved in the design of it. And what I try to do, because I'm an employer myself, I try to, I have about 50 employees. So what I try to do as well is to more or less work out some of the challenges that other employers with larger employee bases would face, and how we can provide automations to make that more efficient, those processes more efficient. So time is spent also looking at improving the product generally along those lines.
Mhm. Wow, that is really this is a really amazing application, and I think certainly the biggest. I've seen some big Alpha Anywhere applications. I think this one is the biggest. You had actually mentioned earlier that there were 3,000 tables. Was that did I get that
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
And so is part of that, do you just like avoid data sharing by giving some of your customers their own tables, or are these just, or is it still
No,
shared
no, 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 no.
tenancy?
Each user has their own database,
Oh, okay,
right?
wonderful.
Because
Okay.
this type of data If you have any exposure, they would
It's
close
very
me down.
sensitive. Yeah,
That's
big
right.
trouble.
I would be sued
Okay.
out of the business.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's not good.
so each one is there on their own data. So it's not multi-tenanted where you have single tenanted,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
we do have conglomerates and others who because the application is multi-company, it's built multi-company.
Yeah.
So you would have we have clients who have 30 and 40 companies that they own through being a conglomerate within HRplus. So so that's why when we looked at when we went back to the personnel here, and we went into to the positions.
Uh-huh.
You see, this is one company here. This is the next one. So you can have as many companies. So we have customers where they scroll this because they have so many, right?
Okay. Oh,
Right.
that's
So
funny.
and it's built to scale, so you can you can add thousands of employees. It's not an issue.
Yeah, fantastic. So we have some questions also coming in from the audience, and they looking at that the way you've built the menus and the navigation. It looks like you use the TabbedUI builder to do that. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
And is that, and what about the menus underneath? Is that also using a TabbedUI interface? Did you all sort of stick with the alpha technology, or did you do some
Yes,
tricky stuff?
alpha technology.
Yeah,
So this worked great because I can easily, I'm now in
yeah,
health and safety, right? So I want to go back to the payroll. I'm click here. I'm now in payroll, so you're seeing all my payroll stuff here, right? So my pay cycles, I can easily get it. So I can be working in multiple modules at the same time without any hassle.
that's great. And you mentioned that this is a multilingual application. Is that right? You're also doing
Correct.
Spanish,
Correct. So
Spanish as well as English.
in the security here, when you're setting up the users,
Uh-huh.
right? Um, one of the
Oh,
things
you
that
can
you
change their language. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So we have signatures as well. I'm not sure whether put a language tag, but yeah. So when you set up users, you can change your language.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, I'm gonna have to ask, how big is your development team to put together such a massive application?
Well, we have as a couple of things we have that work together. We
Yeah.
have a vision control part of it, which that is about 3 persons. Then we
Uh-huh.
have some QA.
Hmm.
We just have 2 persons in there right now.
Okay.
And then we have the programmers. It's about 8 of them.
Okay. And they're typically responsible for different modules. How do you sort of divide up a team
Correct.
of that
Correct.
size?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And
Yeah, great.
some of them work with the help desk. So because we have
Sure.
about 200 customers, so some of
Hmm.
them work with the help desk to provide support and so on.
Cool. So earlier on, you had mentioned you were using a third-party tool for doing the graphing, and I think you said Exago. Is that Exago?
That's
Uh,
right. Jago
okay.
BI.
So it looks like Exago Inc. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and paste
Correct.
that into the
Correct.
chat
Correct.
window for anyone who wants to see it. That came out very nicely. Let me just paste that in. So if anyone's looking for that tool that he used, it's there in the chat window.
And actually, that is what they do. That tool was built for software companies to work with them, and you get an OEM, and you
Yeah,
can white label and then have it integrated into your solution.
great. So with
Yeah.
8 plus, where it sounds like you have almost 11 developers doing Alpha Anywhere, are you using GitHub as the way to maintain source control, or what do you do to sort of keep your
We
files?
use we use a source control. We're not GitHub. We use we're
Uh-huh.
using SVN type source control,
Okay,
right?
cool. Let me
And
see.
that is hosted in the cloud as well. So in fact, the way we run our office, everything is in the cloud. So even the phone systems that I'm using here in the office here, we have 2 phone systems.
Uh-huh.
Everything is redundant here because we have customers operating across so many different countries that we are not sure what days are holiday there, what days are, so
Sure. Yeah.
our help desk has to work every day of the year except New Year's Day and Christmas, right? Um, because we have customers across many small islands, but um,
With all different work days, all different holidays, all different
correct.
everything.
So
Yeah.
it's also trying to track
Yeah.
which holidays where. So the best thing is let's run our help desk every day of the year.
Oh, that's
Right?
fantastic. For the backend database, people are always interested in this. Are you using Microsoft SQL Server or using MariaDB's
SAP SQL Anywhere,
SQL Anywhere? Okay.
right? The SQL Anywhere database, we have been using that for maybe, well, I started on that database when it was Whatcom SQL, and then it went to Sybase, and then
Oh,
SAP
sure.
bought out Sybase. So Sybase bought out Whatcom, and so I've been on this database for many years. They had many functions that only came later on in SQL Server.
Yeah.
So and this is cross platform. This can run on Linux, on a Mac server, on a Windows server. So your database is cross platform, whereas SQL Server was only on a Windows
Was only
platform.
on Windows. Sure. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's, and then it's self tuning, and it's very efficient, and it
Right.
doesn't use a significant amount of your space. So it's an excellent database. It can grow to terabytes. It's serving our purpose very well.
Oh, excellent. Oh, that's good to know.
And it's scalable, and they sell it by the core, just as how you would buy SQL Server by the core. They sell this by the core as well. So we have
Oh,
an
I see.
OEM
Yep.
partnership with SAP.
Yep. Got it. Now, still sticking to the database, how do you build some of your business logic into the database itself and some into
Most of the
Alpha?
business logic, most of the business logic is in the database,
I
right?
see. Yeah.
So the payroll and the time and attendance and so on.
Hmm.
From Alpha, we call stored procedures.
I
In
see.
that,
Sure.
so that, yeah, the processing is done on the database end.
Yeah.
Um, so that's how it was written
Yeah.
um, from day one. So we have always been able to maintain that database power.
Yeah. Someone says here that it looks like you have a business rule module. Is that correct?
Well, what we have here, so we have well, in different areas we have business rules. So
Uh-huh.
when in the leave module, for example, in the leave which comes under the benefits,
Hmm.
right? So we have leave here. So when you go to do the leave, you have to configure it up. When you're setting it up, you do configurations.
Uh-huh.
So the vacation and other cumulative leave rules. So in here, you build your rules out,
Oh,
right? Given by parameters,
and
right?
that looks like that was all, that looks like Alpha Anywhere. Is that correct that you've built that portion of it? Doesn't look like
Yes,
it's an iframe or anything. Yeah. No, that looks great.
yes.
Wow. Super. Do we have any other questions here for the audience for Gregory? And if not, that is great. Gregory, would you like to share your contact information in case people get in touch with you? You could share it here, or I can provide it
Sure,
later if you like.
sure.
That'd be cool.
Yes,
So this,
it's gregoryf at HRplus.net.
oh, that's easy enough. So it looks like what's at the bottom of your screen where it says logged in as Gregory at HR.
That's
Wonderful.
gregoryf, right? It's at gregoryf at
Wonderful.
HRplus. Mhm.
Gregory, thank you so much. This is really amazing. I really appreciate you taking the time to show this off, and I'm really super impressed, as I know a lot of people are here as well. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Right. So coming up next, we've got Dion McCormick will be here to answer any of your questions, and I believe Sarah Mitchell has also joined us, and I think we have a question that was sent in from before. So let me welcome you guys on board and say goodbye to Greg. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right. Dion, are you there?
Yes, I am. That
Excellent.
amazing what you can do. Wow, that's pretty
Isn't that an
crazy.
amazing application? I mean,
I think
that's
there's a
just
little
mind-blowing.
time that got spent on that application, but
Wow. Yeah.
no, I think that's a really good indicator, not only to give people the vision of what you can put together with Alpha Anywhere, but also, this was not what this looked like a couple years ago. You can see obviously they've continued to enhance and increase the platform over time, and Alpha's kept up with them. So it's been pretty cool. And actually, you'll notice one other thing too, which I thought was very, very interesting, was he mentioned the whole API. The fact that they're going to be embracing the new API technology for Alpha, and that's going to allow them to have a dramatic impact on sort of leveraging the business logic, the business data to enhance it, meaning it doesn't all have to be in the package anymore. Once they have an API, then literally you can use other tools to integrate and connect and to leverage all the value that's in here. So very
Absolutely.
intriguing, very interesting, the maturity of their product and where they've come from and where they're going. Amazing stuff.
Cool.
Awesome. There actually, I want to see, Sarah, there was a question that came in regarding a list and a link in a list. Did you want to cover that first, or do you want me to jump into what I was going to
Sarah,
show?
Sarah, I think, are you on the line and can you get into
I
that
am on
question?
the line. Can you hear me?
Excellent. I can.
Excellent.
Yes, there was that. Give me a second to dig up the. I know how to do this. I was just digging up my note on it to make sure that I
Okay.
don't
Yeah.
mess up.
Oh, it's a
First
question
you
we can answer. I love this kind. Yeah.
And we do appreciate people sending questions to guides@alphasoftware.com ahead of time. Allows us to get prepared, be able to handle things, or pretend we're handling things.
I'm gonna share your screen so we don't have to make Greg leave his screen open. Okay, there
Excellent.
we go.
No, I cannot find that resource. So
Oh, okay. Well, why don't I do this? Why
I'm
don't
just
you do
gonna
for
make
that?
an
I'll jump in.
example.
I'll
And I'll
jump
let
in
you know when
mine, and
that's
then
ready.
I'll. Cool. So wanted to finalize our conversation on Kanban. And specifically, there were two key features that are demonstrated, or we wanted to demonstrate, which we didn't get to last time. And one is formatting in the Kanban of numbers and things like that. So I want to talk a little bit more of that. Want to also show you some of the previewing capabilities, which are really nice. And last but not least is totaling and putting summaries in each Kanban column. So as we mentioned, you have different things. They could be any number of different things segmented into columns. That's the basic Kanban. And in the display of the things, you can display them in a formatted method, which allows you to do things like color coding, etc., to enhance the data value or information value of what's displayed on the screen. But also at a higher level, you can then also summarize information on a columnar basis. So I want to jump into that real quick. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and jump into my development environment. And I've got already a list control that's been built and ready to go. I am using static data here. And in this case, I had multiple layouts, but the most important thing is I had my Kanban layout. And pretty much so everything is what we've shown before, meaning that I basically used a static set of data with a set of fields. Then in my list properties, I went into the Kanban settings, set the category names and the other things along those lines. And as you can see, then we can render this as a Kanban, and it'll have nice features such as color coding and other pieces here. Now, you'll notice that in here I have a name, and then below it I have a number. In this case, this is an amount. So one of the first things you want to be able to do is to essentially update the template for each of these items. And we can do that very simply within the Kanban settings. So the way to think about this is that each of these is a row in our list or our data source. My case is static, but it could be also a database. And what that happens is each of these rows is basically formatted. It goes through what's called templating, where it takes the data and then takes a template and combines them together to produce what you see on the screen here. So I'm going to go into my Kanban, go to my layout, and this is my list layout. And what's nice is that Alpha includes predefined ones for list Kanban, so you don't have to create them from scratch, and we've already got pre-built little nice things in there. But now you can take it to the next level. So just something as simple as saying, you know what, in front of the company, I just actually want to put the word company. So I'm putting a piece of static text here. What's in curly brackets is the data itself. And this is HTML, so it's just a standard HTML. So we'll go in here and do working preview. And you'll see now it says the word company and then colon and then the actual company name in. So the company is hard coded and then it does a template substitution for each row with that company information. Now, as you saw there, when I changed it, I said, okay, oh, sorry, go there. I went in and I changed this and stuff, but I don't have to do that. There's a nice feature in it. Let's say I don't want that after all. Get rid of it. Well, you'll notice down here in the lower left-hand corner is preview list. So instead of me editing this, getting out, and then going into and running it, I can click preview list here, and it will render the list here. Now, it doesn't show it as fully on the working, but I can see the information right here, which makes my life simpler. So let's say I just want to put co for a company. I can put that in there, and in a moment, I can see there's my list updated. So this preview list is a very powerful technique for you to quickly be able to see the impact of your templating, and it's just going to use that sample data that I have in there. Now, another area of templating is formatting. So you'll notice that in here I have two types of data. This is textual information, and then this is a numeric value. Now, using HTML, I can do any kind of formatting. So for instance, I can go in here and put H1 and then after it /H1, and this would render, if I do that right, this as a header. So you can apply any kind of standard HTML and CSS in here. In fact, you'll notice here, and if you include and checkbox this, you could actually include your own CSS and JavaScript definitions and use them in here. So I'm using H1, but I would probably end up making a CSS style sheet and then applying a style to each of these elements so that they display the way I want them to. But there's another element of formatting. There's the element of formatting, say, the style, but then there's the formatting of the actual data of value here. So in this case, we have amount, and I want to format that as a numeric value. So I can go into there, and I go down here to the lower corner, and you'll see it says here, Format Directive. And if I click on here, you'll see that we have some different formatting directives. Now, what this means is that right now what we are doing in templating is we're taking our overall template and then inserting our data values. Well, what format directive does is it adds another layer to that. So the first thing that's going to happen is that Alpha is going to look at this data value or this item and then apply any format directive and then combine all of that into my upper level template. So it's sort of like I'm formatting my field, and then once I've done all my formatting on my fields, I can now then integrate it at a higher level there. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to sit there and go format directive, and you'll see right here we have understanding format directives. And this shows you information about how it works. Now, the most important thing for you to realize is that the format directive is inside the curly brackets. You'll notice that my amount here is that curly bracket field name curly bracket. So now it knows to substitute in my field that. And you'll see here's my list of items over here. But if you want to apply a formatting, the way you do it is inside of those curly brackets, you need a colon and then the format directive. And this tells basically how you can do it. And there's different formatting. There's numeric, there is date formatting, a whole bunch of other nice things that are available, including some really nice ones where you can put like or commands, like, you know, if it's this, or there. So you can explore this, it's very powerful. Now, the other thing that's nice is Alpha will help me write this. So I'm going to go here to amount. I have my insertion point right after the T. I'm going to go to format directive and insert format numeric format. Now, also very nice, we all have a pre-made set of formats. You could actually go ahead and create your own format. You'll notice that Here is sort of the language to describe your format. So you can achieve any kind of formatting you want in the system. But often you're going to reuse something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this one right here, which is using a $sign and then formatting it as a $sign. So I'm going to click, I'm going to double click that. When I double click on that, it puts it up in here in a moment. There it goes, just takes a moment. There we go. So you'll notice my format string is put here, and I can click OK, and you'll notice that it put in a colon, and then it put in my number formatting here. Now, if this were a date value, I would just put in format date, select the format date value, and if time, and then boom, what it would do is do the same thing there in terms of creating my formatting. Now that once I've done that, I can now do my preview list without having to get out of the environment. And notice now my date or my numeric formatting. It's got a nicely formatted currency amount, in this case US, but you can make that more flexible with other currencies from other countries, etc. So you'll see that it's very easy to apply not only higher level formatting, but also lower level or sort of field level formatting. And it's done automatically by the system. So once you've set that up, it takes care of it from there. And so that's field formatting in the system. Now, the next thing I'd like to show is the following and I'm going to go ahead and jump back over here. Let's say you have each of these columns, you want to have sort of a summary of what each column's information is. And we call these categories. So each category, we want to have a summary. So built into it is that ability. So let's go back into Alpha. I'm going to go ahead and go to my layout here, and I'm going to go to my Kanban settings. So again, a couple weeks ago, and if you can review it, we went through on how to set this up, how to do the color JavaScript, how to do on move, etc. But you'll notice we also have something here called category filter. And usually it's unchecked. When you first come in here, it's unchecked. But when I check on it, you'll see that we now have a category footer HTML expression and a class name. And there's a pre-built class name put in there for us, but we can adjust that if we want to make our own sort of style on the footer. So I'm going to go ahead and click on here, and I'm going to come back to this in a moment. I'm just going to go in here and type the word footer. And in fact, what I'm going to do is make sure to put that in single quotes. You'll notice that we use single quotes for the actual sort of text that we want in there, sort of hard-coded text. So you'll see that's my footer. Now, again, before I go out, I'm going to go here to preview list. And you'll see right there, footer. And it's just that hard-coded text. And at the bottom of each of my categories or columns, I have footer and footer and footer. And just to show you what it looks like in operation, I'll go ahead and go into working preview. And you'll see my footer is down here at the bottom of each of these columns here. Now, let's say we want to have some interesting information in this. Let's say, for instance, we want to have a total of all the values that are in this column. Well, we can go back into our list control, go to our Kanban, where we had our category footer, and go in here. So first thing I'm going to do is change this to category total. So I'm just putting in this is hard-coded text. And you'll see all the documentation on how to do that is up here. And there's a lot of really nice little documentation. In fact, you can get crazy. You can use JavaScript to actually generate a JavaScript function to do stuff. So you can create very complex sort of, excuse me, representations. You're not limited by kind of what's in here, but there's some nice little handy things. And the following is I can insert a summary field down here. So I can go ahead and click Insert Summary Field. That opens up our summary field builder. So first thing it's asking me is, well, which field do we want to summarize? In my case, amount. Now it's asking me, well, what's the kind of field, kind of data in it, because it doesn't know exactly what the data is. So in this case, I'm going to call it numeric because we know it's numeric. Now, once I've done that, you'll notice that it says summary type. If I use different type, then they have just certain limited number of pieces. So depending on the type of data, it opens up the different types. So as you can see, if I just wanted a count of the items in that column, I could just do count. But you'll see we also have average, sum, etc. So let's go ahead and do sum. And in this case, I can also build and include our formatting string. So it's going to take my amount, it's going to summarize it, and then it's going to give me the numeric format. And so all it's really doing is building, and let me go ahead and expand this out a little command, and it's actually a longer command, but it says number, this group summary, etc. And so if you play around with this, you'll start to understand what it's doing here. And in fact, you could even hand code it if you want, but let Alpha do it. That way you don't have any errors from that standpoint here. So now I'm going to click OK, preview my list. And you'll notice now we have category total, and it's the total of the items in this category. And you'll notice that it's included the number formatting, so it looks nice from a financial standpoint. This has 73K, 147, and then finally 135. So the beauty of this is that it makes it very quick and easy to add totals to your. Now, this kind of technology also works with standard list controls. So you can do it, and you can do groupings and list controls and put totaling and other things like that. We're just reusing that in this case in the Kanban situation. So I'll go ahead and close this here. Now, what's kind of nice too is if I go back in here, I'm not just limited to one thing. I can go down here and say, let's actually change this. I'll go category count plus. Okay. And in here, I'm going to go ahead and put a summary field. In this case, I'll go amount, and I'm just going to do numeric, and I'm just going to do the count. And I'm not going to give it a numeric format. So this is much simpler. It's basically just giving me a count of the information over there. So I'm static text, value, total, and let's go ahead and see if I didn't screw them up. We'll go right here. And so you can see now we've got category count 6, total $sign.
Cool.
Category set and $sign. So it will automatically do all the totaling and everything for me, so I don't have to write code or anything else. And again, as I mentioned, all of this is tailorable by JavaScript. So you could actually make a little command saying, you know, if it's above a certain amount or below a certain amount, you can highlight it a different way. There's the sky's the limit in terms of flexibility and what you need to do. So the things I've covered here are first, the ability for you to do formatting in the layout by using the format directive, and that works for numerics, dates, friendly dates, text. It does all these things nicely. And just real important, it's inside of the curly brackets. Just keep that in mind. And again, you can use this format directive to help you build it for you automatically. The other thing we covered is the ability for you in a Kanban to do what's called a category footer. This is just some HTML that's put at the bottom of each sort of column or category. And what's nice about this is that you can include summary data, so you can see the summary of that information, and it's all taking care of the list updates. Those summary values are going to update, so it makes things very simple. You don't really have to worry about it. You just put in these directives and it'll take it from there. And also that's very, very nice is the ability for you to use JavaScript to do these functions and do those pieces there. So I'm going to click OK, save this for right now. I want to make sure we cover that one question. So let's do this. Let's
we
switch
have
over
Sarah on the line ready
yeah,
to
let's
answer
do Sarah
that one
and then come back
question.
for any questions.
All right, sounds good. Sarah, you're up. Let me go ahead and make you the presenter.
All right.
Cool. So you should see a dialog. Oh, there's your screen. Great.
All right, so you can see it. Great. So the
Yes.
question that came in was, I have a link to another website or maybe another page in my site, and it's in my list control, and I want users to be able to click on that, but out of the box, they can't click on it. It doesn't do anything when you click on that link. And that's because of how events are handled in the list control. So this demo is really short. I'm just going to show you this data. I've got this column here. It's just the Alpha software website that I've added. It's URL. And I've created a list, and it has a freeform layout. And this technique will work in the column and Kanban and all these other ones, but I picked freeform for a very key reason, and that is because we have this button right here, this link that says defining hyperlinks that explains this to you in case you forget. But basically what you have to do is you have to handle the click event, or you have to create an item that has a click event to do the navigation for you. Otherwise, the list control eats the click event, and you never that click on the URL never gets sent to the browser. The list consumes it. So this first one at the top says on click and on touch start. This stop propagation event just says I've handled the click event, don't pass it on to whoever is above me. And the way that click works as an event is that whatever the most specific thing is, it gets that click event first, and then it goes up the stack until something handles it, and then the browser stops. It doesn't like pass it on to the browser, which has its own default handling for things like an href and a hyperlink. So this is one method you can use to navigate to a link. You have this on click and you have on touch start. And if you click on this defining hyperlinks link, that example is included in here, and you can just click this copy on click and on touch events to the clipboard, which only copies those two properties, but you can then paste that into any anchor tag. You can even paste it into other types of controls like a button or something else if you have an action on it that you want to handle. So that's one way to do it. And the other way to do it, which is to create an A5 item, which is created on the items tab. If you do not see this items tab, you have to go down here and you have to check this box here. It says template items. That checkbox is available everywhere. If it's not checked, it's not shown. You might see this layout. Just check that. You can navigate there. And then for this one, this go to URL, I've added this on click event that does something a little more complicated than what was asked for. It sets the source property for an iframe to the URL, but you can just as easily come in here and write something like window.location equals data URL. And data is just the data for the row. It's passed to the item, and you have access to that information. The URL is the field that contains my URL that I want to navigate to.
Cool.
But that's two ways you can handle it. I think this link describes yet another way you can do it, but I'm just not going to go into that because you guys are probably confused already. Anyway.
Plus there's documentation up there. That's great. Yeah.
And I'm just going to show you, in working preview, what I've done here. This is my iframe before this goes away. It's in panel card 2, so you're going to see a side-by-side layout. My list is on the left. The iframe is on the right. It's got this border. If I click another link, which is the one that's going to fire that A5 item, it sets the source for that iframe and loads my page over here. And then if I click the first one, which uses that stop propagation in the on click and on touch start events, it just navigates to alphasoftware.com. There we go.
Great.
So that's how you do that. And that approach not only applies to the list, but it applies to the view box and the form view controls as well. So keep that in mind. Anywhere where you're writing client-side template, that's what you're going to have to do. And in the case of wanting to handle this in like a columnar layout, which I will show right now, which I have not tested, we'll switch this over to column. And I've got my first name, last name, city, state, URL. There's a template property. This is a client-side template. So you can actually come in here and you can do something like this, like do that on-click, stop propagation, wrap it around my URL here. Make sure there's no check boxes in here that I might need to check. And then click OK. And then live preview something I haven't tested. But if I understand this correctly, this will also work. There we go. So that's another way
Awesome.
you can do it. Yeah.
I'm so proud of you doing something you haven't tried before, right? That's
Live on air.
a big
Wow.
step. It's really a big step. And
So adventurous.
That's Dion.
So hopefully that answers your question. There is documentation on it. Ironically, I couldn't find the page, so I'll dig that up. We'll make sure that's linked
That's
into the
awesome,
video when
Sarah.
it goes
Thanks
up on
very much.
YouTube.
We're out of time, but we still have one little question. I'm just going to pass it over to Dan because I think we can get this one done. The question is this: does the footer update when an item is dragged from one category to another in the Kanban? Or is this...
you will need to refresh the list, but once the list is refreshed, it will update those footers.
Gotcha. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks everyone. I'd like to start with Gregory Fernandez from HRplus. Thank you very much for that presentation. We've got a lot of positive feedback here from people saying that it was really cool. Thanks very much, Dion, for the Kanban stuff, and for Sarah for answering the question about clicking on items in a list. If you have any questions, go ahead and send them to guides, GUIDES, @alphasoftware.com. Thanks very much. We hope to see you next Wednesday. Take care and goodbye.